Let me say that while and this is why he went to war. People could say that he went to war because he felt threatened by NATO. That's a joke. NATO's the last threatening thing in the world. There's nothing threatening about NATO. It's not threatening. Hasn't gone to war. It's not going to go to war. NATO members barely agree on anything. There's no consensus. I mean, it's unique now that there is one because of this war. But before that, I mean, one of the reasons Putin went to war is because he believed NATO was fragmented and they'd never agree on anything. They would never threat to him. And indeed, if that was the standard, if the standard was NATO expansion, well, Putin's lost the war already. Because much more valuable than Ukraine to NATO, much more valuable than Ukraine, is Finland and Sweden. They have much longer border with Russia. They have much better soldiers than Ukraine. Sorry, they have a much longer border than Ukraine has with Russia. Finland and Sweden do in the north. They have much better armies. And they actually manufacture their own weapons. They have very sophisticated weapon systems built in Sweden and Finland. The fact that they were not part of NATO was a relief to Putin. Now they are. He's lost this war. If that was the goal was to keep NATO away. NATO's just got much closer to Moscow, even closer to St. Petersburg, and really close to, I forget the name of the port in the Baltic Sea there, that is this far from Estonia and not that far from Finland and Sweden. So if NATO was the issue, I think the issue was his desire for empire, for the Russian people, for a legacy. He wants to have statues built, constructed for him. He wants to be considered not Putin, but Putin the Great. There is a real desire here for a great Russian mystical state. He sees the West weakness. The West is weak. He sees they're not weak militarily, weak intellectually, weak philosophically, weak in our commitment to our ideas. He sees that weakness. He's exploiting it. He's been prodding us for years, invading Georgia just to test it out. What did the West do when he invaded Georgia?
Blame detergents.
Nothing, basically. Nothing. They said don't go to Tbilisi. George Bush, I think, told him that, but clearly nothing. He prodded them in 2014 with Crimea and Donbass. What did the West do? Nothing. So what did he figure the West would do this time? Nothing. And this time he was going to go to Kiev and it was going to be over in a week. For a variety of reasons, he was that delusional. So he believes in this greater destiny of Russia. The West is weak. That is a sign. This is the time he's probably sick as well, so this is a good time for him to implement this destiny and bring it to the reality. Ukraine was goal number one. Georgia was going to be number two. If we're not going to stand up to him in Ukraine, we certainly wouldn't stand up to him in Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan. Why not? Right? There's oil, there's natural resources. He is oriented towards oil and natural resources. Guess what exists in the southeast of Ukraine? Oil and natural gas, huge reserves, largest in Europe, exist right there under the Ukrainian land, on the border with Russia, the land that he now is occupying. He has that mentality of zero-sum, natural resources. That's what he wants, not trade. And there's one other thing that I think really scared Putin. Putin knows deep down, he'll never admit it, and he can't maybe even admit it even to himself. But Putin knows way deep down that he is an illegitimate leader. Thank you for listening or watching the Yaron Brook Show. If you'd like to support the show, we make it as easy as possible for you to trade with me. You get value from listening. You get value from watching. Show your appreciation. You can do that by going to yaronbrookshow.com/support, by going to Patreon, Subscribestar, Locals, and just making a appropriate contribution on any one of those channels. Also, if you'd like to see the Yaron Brook Show grow, please consider sharing our content and, of course, subscribe. Press that little bell button right down there on YouTube so that you get an announcement when we go live. And for those of you who are already subscribers and those of you who are already supporters of the show, Thank you. I very much appreciate it.